you have to run. This video might scare the shit out of you because it's about cold calling. And I know there's so many people out there, so many real estate media agency owners that would never even dare consider picking up the phone to try to get more business. It's not for the faint of heart, but if you are courageous enough, you might learn on the other side of this video what it took for someone like myself to cold call my way to working with all the top producers in real estate in my local market. We were able to go from $250,000 to $1.7 million our first full year in business off the back of cold calling and building relationships. And that's exactly what I'm going to teach you in this video, how to build more meaningful relationships and simply introduce yourself over a cold call. Talk about my favorite topic, cold calling. I bet like 80% of our audience is like, no, I'm good. I'm gonna skip this workshop. So those to the ones that joined, this is probably the most unique topic, I guess, when it comes to sales. It's not for everyone, but for the right people, it's extremely, extremely deadly. It's actually how Aerial Canvas scaled to 7 figures single-handedly. What's up, Adrian? How are we doing today?
Good. I was just typing in the chat, actually. I was going to say, I'm down to do a workshop on cold walking, which I realized I'm halfway decent at, versus cold calling, which I'm not that decent at. I was listening to a podcast where someone actually gave it the name cold walking because somebody who I can really relate to, he basically was saying like, yeah, I am the world's worst cold caller. I couldn't get anybody to answer the phone or talk to me for more than a second. But as soon as you put me in front of somebody or I walk into a business, I would close like 90+%. And I feel like I'm more aligned with that. I'm maybe not 90%, but I could do it. So long story short, I'm excited. I'm always excited to hear your positioning on the actual calling portion because it's much more scalable. You can sit behind the phone and dial out in greater volume than you can, walking your feet into a brick and mortar location. But anyways, yeah, maybe we could do a companion workshop, but let's get it today.
Awesome. What's up, Ishmael? Good to have you.
Thanks for having me, bro. So I went to the calendar invite and I saw that it was like the Google Meet joined that. So I joined that, not the Zoom. So
No worries. No worries. Good to have you. All right. Well, let's kick it off in just a minute. But before we do kick it off, I just wanted to hear from everyone. Corey, like, where are you at with cold calling? Is it a thing that you're doing? Are you seeing success? Where are you at?
No, it's not something that we do. Raphael on the call here is my list consultant, so I had him on. It's something that to get kind of rolling in the business, effective everywhere you go. I mean, I did it when I worked for Verizon as a business account manager. So no matter where you're at, it's helpful. But here in Missoula, there's maybe 800 realtors. There's always new ones coming in, of course, but it's a very, very small market for us here.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then what about you, Nick? What's your experience with cold calling and what do you think about it?
Yeah, I think like you said, it's the right person who can pull it off and has the right systems in place and knows kind of the tactics and procedures. It's a a game changer. I don't have any cold calling experience necessarily, but I was in the insurance business for a bit and I would call warm leads, but it was leads that had sent direct mail back to us and they didn't remember sending anything back. So it was kind of like cold calling, but learned how to talk on the phone there. But I definitely want to how to close deals on the phone or get appointments set up and then for closing deals and stuff like that, because I think people who can pull it off really well, I have a lot of admiration for those people because it's not an easy task, and people who are really good at it, they've put the time and the effort into learning it. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely not for the faint of heart. Ismail, tell me a little bit about your cold calling journey and what success you've had with cold calling.
Yeah, thanks, Brendan. Thanks for sharing, guys. I would say cold calling absolutely changed and transformed our business and me personally at the same time. I like, Corey, you're in a great position, man. Like, you got 800 agents in your market. You can call every single one of them and get 100% market just by calling them. I never picked up the phone. I did calls right when we started our business in March 2023. I remember vividly getting hung up on. And really I said I've never used cold calling again. We got our first client through a cold call. Just 500 agents in San Diego. Jonah, my business partner, called me when I was at the Costco parking lot. He said, I got our first client. And out of the A to Z list, his name was Andrew Skirty. So he was AS. on the list. So we stopped cold calling. We did 30K in rev the first year from March 2023 all the way to the end of the year. And then in December of that year, I actually don't even remember why, but we just, for some reason, decided that cold calling was going to be how we were going to start selling. And we made a partnership with real producers, got their top 200 list. Like, I vividly remember days where I didn't see the sun and I sat in my dark bedroom all day just making calls and calling agents. And it's never something, there's nothing inherent about the skills required to do cold calling. It's just nobody wants to do it. And I think it's one of those things that we build up all these reasons and excuses in our minds not to do it. I did the same thing for a long time. I mean, we did 330K that second year. So we literally 10x our business, and I made 2,000 cold calls that year. And I definitely know there's a correlation there. It's not the only way you can grow your business. And there's really no special tactics or anything. The best thing that I learned that I distilled down after just doing it so many times, getting the reps in, was just call the agent. You want to get on and off the phone with them as fast as possible with the next step. Like, you're not trying to sell them on the phone. You're not going to explain to them why your photos are marginally better than the guy who they're currently doing business with. Your main goal is to get them to know who you are and get the permission to sign up or send them an email and then book a meeting. And I did that. I booked a lot of meetings. Objection handling was something that I learned on the fly as well. And I ended up getting an in-person meeting with the number one. And none of this is just to brag. This is real. This is just shit that actually happened. I cold called the number one agent in San Diego. He sells like $350 million a year. At this point, the mistake that we made was our product was shit. So I was cold calling agents trying to peddle a really shitty photo and video product. So luckily for you guys are probably further along in the journey where you guys actually have a really solid creative like product that you're selling. I didn't. And so I cold called him in January 2024. And I name dropped an agent that we work with, and he said, "Oh no, I'm gonna stop you right there. If you work with that agent, I'm probably not interested." In my mind, I went back on my heels, and I didn't know what to say, but I said, "That's why I'm calling you, because you actually sell luxury." And then so he literally told me when I was in the in-person meeting with him, he said, "The reason that you're in this meeting right now is because you called me, and then the way you responded to that criticism that you gave." So it works. It does work. Special things that I do, I literally just get on the phone. I'm direct as fuck with it. I'm just like, "Hey, my name's Ismail." Pause. Let them fill the silence, and then I'm just saying, "Hey, Sam, I'm calling you because I know you're a top agent in San Diego, and I work with other top agents here. Wanted to see if we could have a time to meet." And it's like that simple, like 1, 2, 3. It's really not that complicated.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing, Ismail. And 2 things I really loved about what you just did. You have an affinity towards action. One didn't work out, you're immediately moving to the next one. The worst cold callers I've had on my team, they're thinking about calling for like 10, 20, 50 minutes, and they're making a couple dials an hour at best. Versus you're just like, all right, next. Okay, voicemail, no, I'm good, next. And you're building momentum, and you're trying to get just talk time as fast as possible, which is from dialing. And the second thing is like, dude, you're just smiling and dialing. Like you're doing it with a smile, and it's not something you're dreading. So if you guys dread calling, you might want to evaluate even leaving this call today. And if you want to stay and you want to stick it out, I'm going to teach you the mindset of how you can approach cold calling where it doesn't feel like you're bothering agents and you're, like hurting your reputation and you're annoying agents, and it's just like, oh my God, like forcing it. It can feel quite uncomfortable if you're uncomfortable. And there was a time back in the college days where, obviously, I'm not supposed to make dating analogies, but this one's relevant, right? Like, we want to talk to women, we want to go to the bars, and my friends and I made a game out of it, and it was a lot easier than just being in our heads and thinking about, what are we going to say? It's just like, go, talk to that person. If not, you're losing the bet, and it's more of a game. It's like, and so it's very important if you can to build a culture and community around these calls. So if you do end up cold calling, like sharing the calls that are blunders, like having fun with it, poking fun of yourself in a way where you laugh it off and you're not so tough on yourself. I think that's very important, because there are calls that I've been a part of that were super embarrassing. And if someone overheard it, I would have been like, damn, bro, I'm not that bad, trust me. And so, and what one of those calls were where I called and I said, hey, this is Brendan, is this May? And then immediately she was like, not interested. She just hung up on me. And then dude, if Colby was next to me, he's like, bro, he would have been like, bro, you suck. Right? So, but I still took it with a champ mentality. I said, hey, I'm just going to shoot her a text. Hey, I don't think it's rude that you hung up on me. I bet you get called by other people trying to sell you marketing and stuff all the time. My name is Brendan. I'm with Aerial Canvas. Here's a sample of what we did for this listing and our website. Our goal is to help agents stand out, win more listings, make marketing the last thing that holds them back. Take a chance to consider what we have to offer, and if you're not interested, I won't bother you again. And so there's two things there that I want you to pay attention to. Like, the rest is fluff. One is being authentic, right? If someone hung up on you, you're not gonna call them out on it, right? You're gonna just hide, underneath the truth of like, hey, that was a uncomfortable interaction. Like, when you can show yourself as a true man, as a true authentic human being that has standards, maybe your standards is I'm not even gonna bother, that's fine. But don't do it with a frown, just do it with a smile and keep dialing, right? But I did bother because she was a top producing agent, and we ended up working with her for a good while until she brought it in-house. But the lesson there is be authentic and be someone who has standards for the interaction, right? Like, expect someone to be respectful to you, right? If you're someone who doesn't expect that, people are going to walk over you, and then you're just going to have a bad time. It's like just getting kicked around in the playground, and you're not going to want to do it after a day, right? And so we're going to go over the mindset strategies that allow you to think more highly of yourself and your business and what you can offer. The second thing is being relevant and being what we call calibrated. What calibrated means you're not, sometimes you're in a room where everyone's professional, and then there's this clown that comes in and just is like walking and beeping around and like trying to crack jokes, and everyone's serious and trying to get down to work. That means you're uncalibrated, right? If she's super busy and she's not interested, I empathize with her. I agree with her. I bet you get called by marketers trying to sell you bullshit all the time. She's like, oh, finally, someone who gets me. When I was in college, I had a whole month where I went out straight for developing my social skills. I didn't drink. I just went out. I talked to guys. I talked to girls. I talked to everyone. And my goal was just to build momentum and get that social anxiety out of the way, so it feels natural to just be able to strike up a conversation. Cold calling will take time like that. It's not something that's overnight. No one's like just born good cold calling. For me, like, there was a point in time where actually I was not good at cold calling. Even when I started at Aerial Canvas, Colby, I try to make a couple dials because I'm like, all right, this marketing thing's taking too long. Like this referral stuff working, but it's slow. I want to work with this agent and this agent. I'm just going to call them. And I called them and I said, hey, this is Brendan. Just curious, did you check out the samples I sent over? And I was pitching up, and I was just like, Colby's like, that's not your voice. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, dude, I just recorded you. You sound like why you don't talk like that? I was pitching up, I was supplicating, like my energy and my tone was just off. And so once I realized like, hey, I need to talk like I normally talk to you all and my friends, then that really changed how I was received, right? Like, don't pretend to be someone else. Just be you, but also be the happier version of you. Be a version of you that you would want to hang out with, when you have a day off. Don't be the version of you that's just like, oh, this guy's just dragging his feet because he's not happy. So if you're not happy doing this, just don't do it. We're going to jump into the presentation today. All right. Let's see. So welcome to our workshop, Cold Calling 101. And the goal of this is to help you reach more top producing agents and clients faster, whatever industry you want to get into. And so the first thing I wanted to go over is like purpose and mindset. You're helping the agents win more listings. If your product is shit, go fix that. If your photos aren't that good, if your video aren't like top 20%, top 30%, that's something that you need to fix before you can have this core belief, which is you're helping agents win more listings. You're not asking for a favor. And also you have to acknowledge they literally can't hurt you through the phone. They can't, like, most likely they don't even know who you are. They can't leave you a bad review. They can't come at you for anything. And so this is a numbers game, just like Ishmael outlined. You just keep dialing, just rip the dials. Consistent outflow equals predictable inflow. What that means is like everyone has a hit rate, right? Everyone has a hit rate. Your hit rate it's like your batting average. Some of us bat at 30%, and I only have to make maybe, let's just say 30 calls, and I can close 3 clients. Nine people might be warm to the conversation, might close 3 within a week or 2. And some people might be at 5%, which means you got to make 100 calls to potentially close 5 clients. But the beauty of it is every call that you make, you're 1 call closer to getting that close. Just you got to figure out what your average is. If your average is 1 out of every 100, if I told you like you got to make 100 calls to get a client, are you willing to do that? Because maybe your average client spends $3,000 with you in a year. That might be, okay, I make 1,000 calls and I make $30,000. Every call is worth, like $30. Shit, that's more money than I'm making right now without a shoot. So I just picked up the phone and started dialing, right? The numbers added up, they made sense, and I was willing to work through it. Another important thing that I want everyone to acknowledge is your work should sell itself. You don't have to tell them anything fancy. You don't have to do any sort of verbal jujitsu. There is definitely strategies and tactics of like how to be more streamlined with like how you present yourself and how you potentially get them to want to book with you at some point. There are ways to accelerate that. But your goal is to, if you have great work, the samples are going to close faster than any pitch. Sharing them like your Instagram, sharing them a recent like epic video that you did, it's going to do a lot. So your goal is to build enough rapport to get them to say yes to checking out your samples, to get them to be like, yeah, I'll take a look at your work. Oh yeah, sure. Like you seem like a stand-up guy. Let me give you a shot. And the shot they're going to give you isn't because you called them. It's because they look at your work and they're like, yeah, I'd buy this. I'll try it, And so once again, you're not begging for business, you're helping. 2, they can't hurt you. Rejection doesn't sting. It's all in your mind. Like literally they're only hurting your ego, and your ego, if you start off saying, hey, I'm just here to learn how to call, I'm trying to improve, I'm trying to help people, rejection shouldn't hurt you. And then also it's a numbers game, outflow equals inflow. And then also samples, and just the next steps is better than talking. Talking I think is great. You can build rapport, you can build a connection. But at the end of the day, like Ismail said, you can't peddle bullshit and expect it to really work out long term. Like I can, become your best friend and, like chat you up and entertain you and make you smile and laugh and like invite you to a party and you're like, we're all buddies. But if my cake is like burnt and tastes like ass, you ain't gonna eat the cake, right? Like if I'm selling cakes, it's the same thing with video and photo. If your photos aren't good, like there's no point. So that's, for those on the call that you need to improve your quality, don't bother cold calling because you're filling up a leaky bucket. It's kind of hard to build momentum. But if you do have momentum, you do have a good product, 1, you should lean into our referral strategy and our brokerage connection strategy first. Work your existing network, because cold calling, once again, isn't for the faint of heart. I just want to put some people on the spot because you're here, and so cold calling is going to be uncomfortable. What's the first 10 sentences, or not 10 sentences, 10 seconds of your call? If you were to make a call right now, I'd love to hear, what did the first 10 sentences sound like? I'm going to start with Adrian. You're available? Let's just say you're calling with Aerial Canvas. You're calling for Aerial Canvas. Let's see where you're at. Let's just say you're calling to build business for Aerial Canvas, so it's relevant. What's the first 10 seconds sound like if I'm Brendan with Compass? Let's hear it.
Oh, geez.
It's fine, dude. That's the thing. Yeah. Got a bunch of great agents to work with us through cold calling, and he's this rusty, and it's fine. I'm rusty too.
That's true. I mean, yeah, you actually posted, and I'll get to it. I'm not trying to delay. I'll get to it in a second. But you posted something the other day about, I think it was Isabel Javier. I think it was one of her testimonial videos, and it just made me distinctly remember the small office storage unit that you always talk about with smelling each other's breath and farts, and how tight of a space it was in there, and just calling a bunch, and she was one of those individuals that I called, and she's still a client, like whatever, how many years later, 5 years later. So it absolutely works. There's no denying it. But okay, back to the point here. First 10 seconds. I don't know. You know, me, I like to try to keep it loose, have fun if I can. So I think it really depends on the individual. But I
Oh,
might
it's just
even go with like, you know, I might even hit him with like, hey, this is a cold call or something like that. I don't know. Like, why? What were you gonna say?
well, that's fine. I mean, that's fine. That's a good. That's not a bad approach. You know, just confronting the truth. You know, but that can lend yourself to, you know, have them be like, no, I'm not interested in a cold call right now. But you know, I've seen people spin some humor on it. I know Thomas's team, I think, does that. Like, hey, this is a cold call, so feel free to hang up on me. I don't mind. You know, like there's a little bit of humor there, which, you know, alleviates it. But I think that immediately puts you in a negative equity position where you're having to build back from that. So I would avoid, you know, stating it's a cold call. If they're calling or confronting, do I know you? I'm not going to beat around the bush like, hey, we never met. Like this, I'm calling you because I noticed you for on X, Y, and Z for this reason, right? All right, let's hear from Nick. Let's just do a quick role play. I'm Brendan with Compass. I got a nice listing. You saw it on Zillow. Whatever excuse you want to have to call me. What's the first 10 seconds sound like for you?
Hey, is this Brendan?
Hey, yeah, this is Brendan. How can I help you?
Yeah, hey Brendan, my name is Nick. I was looking on Zillow and I saw your listing you've got on 123 Hope Street, and it looks like you do quite a bit of business in this area. I'm actually with Feist Media, a local real estate media agency here in town.
I like the first 5 seconds. We're gonna just cut it there because we only want to hear the first 10, right? And the reason why we want to hear the first 10 is you have to understand with cold calling, it's like going up to a stranger, right? How, like, sometimes you get approached by a stranger. Sometimes you're like, you got 10 seconds. You're like, is this guy gonna try to rob me? Is he trying to, you know, ask for directions? Like, what does he want to do? And so you have 10 seconds to win, you know, potentially your first 30 seconds or a minute. And so I would say the first 5 seconds were strong, but once it felt like you were trying to potentially sell something, like, I think I immediately was on the defensive already of like, hey, like, I kind of want to get off this call. He's with Feist Media. He's noticing my listing. He's probably trying to sell me some marketing. That's fine. You know, I don't think it's bad. I think your tone and your pacing was good enough that I would have given you the time of day if I was like a nice person. We probably could have chatted it up from there. What about you, Corey? Where you at? Ring. It's fine, dude.
It's years since I've done a call.
That's the point of this call, is to get us.
You know, I'd probably just be like, hey, Brendan, how's it going?
It's going well. Who's this?
This is Corey. I saw a recent listing that you had posted. It came across my Instagram feed for 123 Main Street. It's a pretty sweet. Can you tell me a little bit about it? What's going on there?
Okay, I like it. It keeps it open-ended. I'm kind of curious if you're potentially, you know, a buyer, or I don't know exactly, but like, you know, I'm obviously motivated to sell this listing. So immediately I'm like, you got me trying to potentially sell you. So I love the framing. That's great. John Reed, we got you here, buddy.
Yeah, I'm here, but I'm gonna crash it. No, in fact, let me know.
That's the whole point.
Let me.
That's the whole point. We're gonna build you up.
Okay, ring.
Hey, this is Brendan. How can I help you?
Hey, Brendan. John from Reed Media Agency. How's it going, man?
It's going well. What can I do for you?
Yeah, I was just checking out some of. See, there I go.
Okay, we're good. The first 10 seconds is all I'm asking for because that's what we're training on right now. Yeah. So the first 10 seconds, you don't want to state you're with a company. Like, right. I would just avoid stating you're with Feist Media, whatever, because immediately when you say that, it's like, this person's trying to call me and sell me something. Like, immediately that's what their mind goes towards. And you don't want to sound like every other salesperson, because like 80% of salespeople are like, hey, this is Brendan. How are you today? Hey, I'm with this company. And it's just like, ooh. And real estate, you're talking to salespeople, so they sniff it out real quick. Every real estate agent is a salesperson. They get called by a lot of people to sell them stuff as well because their number is out there in public. You know, it's going straight to them. So my favorite strategy recently, at least in the last few years, is being a slightly confused man that's just looking for help, right? But I'm not trying to pretend to be someone else. I'm doing it because I am confused. Is this agent someone I want to work with? You know, is this an agent someone I care to, you know, do business with? I'm qualifying them. Like if I was just a random person on the street, are they going to be rude to me if I'm asking for a little bit of help? You know, if they're an asshole, you know, they did me the service of letting me know that they would treat like random people just giving them a call, asking about listings, like pretty rude. And I don't really want to associate with agents that are rude and, you know, that are short with, you know, potential clients. And so I'm going to call, like, let's do a reverse role play, Corey. Ring, ring.
Hey there, how's it going?
Hey, it's going well. Is this Corey?
Yeah, it's Corey. What's up?
Hey, Corey, you sell real estate, right? I saw your listing at 123 Hope Street. Is that one still on the market?
Yeah, that's still on the market. Yeah, that's mine.
I'm just curious, like, you know, you getting good like traction on it? Like if someone were to put it in a bid, you know, is it potentially something I could get for our under market?
You know, we've been there for a while. We've had a couple inquiries about it, and you know, we're just kind of working through things right now.
No. Okay. Well, hey, I know I didn't even introduce myself. My name is Brendan. I also work in real estate, just like yourself. I work with a couple top producing agents, and I've seen your name come across my desk, and you know, I've seen your Zillow listing recently. I figured I'd give you a call.
Yeah, sure. What can I do?
Well, I work with a lot of agents actually, and I might be able to even put you in touch with some agents that are looking to help buyers buy properties like this. But actually, I'm not an actual agent. I help agents show up on social media. I help them, you know, present their listings better, and I help them with their strategy when it comes to like putting themselves ahead of other agents when it comes to their branding. Is that something that, you know, you have some time to chat about right now to like just discuss what that looks like for you?
Yeah, you know, I'm always open to hear what's going on out there. You know, we get probably like 10, 15 likes a post, so we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I'd love to share with you some of our work. We recently had this one listing, a video that popped off. We had like over 300 shares. Would love to do something like that for your next listing.
Oh, yeah, I would love to see that.
So I don't want to get too deep into the rabbit hole, but hopefully and I'm also rusty. There's some things that I didn't like what I did, and that's what sales is all about, is, you know, reflecting on the game tape, looking at like how you made that play. I don't like how I said, is it okay, you know, to asking for your time. I think I should have just qualified you a little bit further. But you saw like the thing, I never mentioned my company. I never, you know, I beat them to the punch, you know, like I didn't introduce myself right in the beginning. So I'm like, okay, hey, let me introduce myself before it's awkward. It's like, who am I talking to? So your goal is to have social calibration where you always beat them kind of to the punch of like their curiosity or but you always have enough curiosity where they're like leaning in, like, what is this about? You know, because that curiosity is what you want to like have them feel when it comes to the call, because no one wants to be cold called. At the end of the day, like I didn't mind being cold called for a second, because I was just like, if they're good at cold calling, maybe I'll, you know, sell them on why they should cold call for me. And that wasn't like the worst angle. And it's just like, let me listen to your pitch. Let me hear how you present yourself. Let me give you some objections. Oh shit, how much you make at what you do? Like, yeah, I might be interested in interviewing you. Like, you should check out our website. But when it comes to the strategy, you want to leave room for their curiosity of like, is this person trying to buy my listing? Finally, someone's trying to buy my listing, right? You want to extract that energy as fast as possible where they're trying to sell you, and they're trying, like, I don't know if you ever gotten a tour of a property from like maybe your apartment shopping or, you know, like working with an agent on renting a place. They're trying to sell you guys, right? Like they're like, oh, and this and that. You want to get them in that frame, because all of a sudden it changes the power dynamic where you're not selling uphill, you're selling downhill, right? And they're selling themselves to you. You don't obviously want to take that power dynamic too far and, you know, like make them qualify and jump through hoops, but you're just like, it's kind of like you're just meeting them for the first time, and you're just curious, like, you know, are they cool? Are they dope? You know, do they like traveling? Do they like, you know, are they an agent that takes themselves seriously? Like, you know, like you're trying to figure them out like you would if you were to meet a stranger at a bar. You know, where are you from? What do you like to do? And once you get them in that frame, you've pretty much unlocked the ability to ask them any questions as long as you give them a reason for why the question exists. And so the first thing that you need to do is state the reason for your call. Like after the pleasantries, the how are you, how have you been, hey, you know, do you have this? You say, hey, actually, the reason for my call is X, is Y, is Z. And the craziest thing is Gong.io, a sales analytics company, studied 100,000 calls. And just simply stating the reason for your call increases the likelihood of that call being successful by over 3x. And the reason doesn't even have to be legitimate. That's the craziest thing, because the human psychology is just thinking like why did this person stop me? Like, what are they doing? They don't want to buy my house? Like, and at some point, if they're a little bit like, you know, wanting instant gratification, like through social media, they're like, what's the point of this reel? What's the point of this call, right? And so you want to beat them to that punch too, right? So what you say is, hey, the reason for my call is I noticed you on social media. That's enough of a reason. Hey, the reason for my call is I saw that you have a German Shepherd. So do I. And that's enough for their human brain to be like, oh, okay. I don't need to fight this. I don't need to like try to run away. Like, oh, they want to talk to me about my dog. Obviously, that's why, you know, they're calling me. You know, and some people might be super practical, you know, like CEO type. That'd be like, okay, that's bullshit. Like, what are you trying to call me for? But the average person isn't even going to register that. That allows you to get the second, you know, like minute or 2 minutes where they're already eased into the interaction. And so you can say, hey, the reason for my call, you can make it about real estate. Hey, the reason for my call is I was scrolling Zillow and I looked at your listing and I said, hey, I had to talk to the agent that had this listing. This listing is badass. Like, hey, how many offers do you have on it right now? And you see, like, I'm not asking to buy. I'm asking to spark curiosity. You know, like, oh shit, this person's like in real estate. Like, is he making offers on stuff right now? And he's asking me, you know, these questions that not everyone asks me. Like, he's kind of in real estate. And so I lend towards a little bit of curiosity where they're like, is this person trying to buy my property? Oh yeah, of course. You know, yeah, we got some interest in it. Like, hey, you wanna check out the property? They're immediately in trying to sell me mode. And then that's where I can, you know, backpedal them and be like, hey, I'm actually not even in the market to buy a property. I'm still trying to make my first $100,000. And you can, you know, make a joke that like resets it and allows you to be like approachable. And then that's where you can segue into, now that they're already pre-framed to be nice to you because they're like trying to be the agent to you as the buyer. And I'm not saying you want to trick them. Don't ever trick them. But just frame them in that way where they're approaching you not with their shield up, with, hey, let me help you. And then you're like, hey, actually, I work in real estate. Actually, I'm trying to make my first 100,000 so I can put a down payment. You know, these houses are crazy priced these days. Half these agents, they don't even have houses. They're still renting, right? So they understand. And so when you can be relatable to that, that's where you can unlock it, and you can just go into a normal conversation. You can just go into a normal conversation as you would meeting a buddy, because they're already saying, hey, cool, you're not a weirdo. You seem normal. You're not trying to sell me anything. Let's just talk, right? And then that's where you can present, hey, yeah, I actually work. And you might have noticed something else I said earlier. I didn't say with Feist Media. I say I help agents show up on social media. I help them, you know, do listing presentations. I help them, you know, stand out amongst other agents. I talk about the benefit. I don't talk about the what, right? No one wants to be like, don't focus on the packaging, right? Don't focus on the price tag. Don't focus on the storefront. Focus on getting the feeling, getting the actual benefit in the hands of your clients as fast as possible. If I said, hey, come to the Tesla store, we got some of these nice cars, versus trying to just be like, put you in the cockpit, have you hold the wheel, have you press the gas, you want to focus on getting to those feelings as fast as possible. Because we're all selling something that's fairly a commodity. But if you can evoke feelings, you're going to get them to emotionally buy into the interaction. And so that comes in many formats, right? You can make them laugh. right? John, I know you're good at self-deprecating humor. You'd be like, you can use that. That's fine. You know, I know you like to, you know, tease yourself all the time, but that's fine. You know, and that's relatable. And, you know, I'm sure they have friends like that. And you want to get them to emotionally buy into the conversation. And that comes from them trying to serve you, but it also comes from you being a genuinely like calibrated person. And you gotta like sprinkle in some fun, right? If you make it all about business super fast, people are like, oh shit. You know, the average person doesn't want to work. They're like, oh, you know, I gotta make these calls, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. Average person, including real estate agents, just like, oh, another tire kicker. So you wanna be able to have some locker room talk or like that water cooler talk. Oh, you know, like you want to sprinkle in fun, right? Oh yeah, I was just camping with my girlfriend. Like, dude, I got the biggest bug bite ever. I'm still scratching it. It's just like, you know, it's so random, but it just makes you like so human, right? Like if you were talking to your best friend. And then you sprinkle in work, and then you sprinkle in, you know, about your listing. And your goal on the first interaction is not to become their best friend. It's to become cool enough for them to be like, yeah, I met that person earlier. Like he was at the bar next to me and like, what's he doing now? Oh, that's cool, right? And you want to be busy without pretending to be busy. Don't like put on a show. Hey, I actually have a meeting coming up. I gotta go. Don't say that. Your next meeting is I'm trying to make another call to another agent. Hey, actually I have to call this other agent right now. Like he told me to call him back, you know? Usually that's the case. If you're building momentum with calling agents, you might call like 7 in a row and some are like, hey, I missed your call, you know? And it's like, no worries, are you free in 5 minutes? You know, I was checking out your listing. And so now your goal on that first interaction is one thing. Get them to take the next step with you. What does that mean? Does anyone want to tell me what is a good next step? Corey, what's one next step you want them to take with you?
Set up something a little bit more personal that we can kind of sit down and chat and get to know each other a little bit more and learn about them.
Too much. That's like me trying to get you on a date after I talk to you for 5 minutes. Can I get your phone number? I'd love to take you out next week. It's too much, right? I'm related to dating because it's relatable, right? Nick, what is your goal? What's one next step you want them to take? That
would be to check out samples or send your portfolio over to them.
Nice.
Like that.
Cool. There's one that's a little bit, that was an amazing strategy and is an amazing strategy. I think it's like, you know, low friction. Hey, just check out my stuff, check out my work. John, you want to come up with one idea?
Well, what was on my mind is to follow on from Nick's suggestion would be, you know, hey, I'm going to send you a couple of samples over. Are you around, you know, on Friday morning? I'll give you a call just to see if you have any questions.
Okay. That feels too potentially like, oh, this guy's trying to like get me to take the next steps. Have you ever met someone where you're like at the mall and they're chatting you up and you're like, this person's fun. And then all of a sudden they're like trying to get you to come into your store and buy stuff. You don't want to be that person too fast. You have all the time in the world. I was that person, and you know, I'm trying to slow roll it right now in my life because I've realized that that's more valuable. And so here's the strategy that I want you guys to lean into a little bit more. The samples are amazing, Nick. If you can just have them check out your samples and have it low friction, be like, yeah, you know, hey, I just did this one listing for this agent. I'd love for you to see, you know, did you have a chance to check that one out? Make it an excuse, right? Like, hey, come check. Dude, I got a Pokemon card collection at my house. You want to come take a look? You don't want it to be so forceful, like, hey, I got Pokemon cards. Do you want to buy any of them? Like, here are my samples. Like, here are my Pokemon cards. You know, which one are you interested in most? You don't want to be too focused on the sale. You want to be focused on trying to get them to become your friend. They're sitting on a same side of the table, and you're like, hey, I just worked on this recently. Like, hey, what do you think about this? Like, hey, I just did this amazing shoot recently for this one agent. I'd love for you to, you know, take a look to let me know if you have any feedback on, like, you know, do you like my work? You know, make it casual, make it low commitment. Another way you can do this is a follow for a follow. Dude, When I was single, every girl I talked to, I'm gonna make a dating analogy, and if you're a girl, every guy you talk to, right, is most people, you know, because of what social media has taught us, we want more followers, we want more likes. Hey, I was just on social media, I was checking out your page. Dude, that's so cool. You went to, you know, Boise to, you know, for summer, and, you know, you went camping. I gave that post a like, and I just followed you on IG. Give me a follow back. You know, I'd love to stay connected. And if you do a good job maintaining your IG is gonna do half of the follow-up for you. Half of the follow-up. In the past when IG wasn't as prevalent, like 6 years ago, like, yeah, it was there, but not every agent had an IG, right? Not every agent was like, I need to get my first 1,000 followers. You know, it's Ryan Serhan's been telling me, Tom Ferry's been telling me, everyone's telling me I need to get on IG. It's like social media is like we're not going backwards. Like everyone's on social, like people are invested, they want that. And every person I ask, it's like, hey, you know, let me give you a follow. No, like, unless you're a creep and a weirdo, everyone's gonna want to follow you back. Everyone's gonna be like, yeah, you know, you follow me, I'll follow you back. Boom, right? And in the past, I had to cold call to follow up. I'd be like, hey, you know, checked out the samples and all that stuff. Half the people, like my cousin, my mom, my uncle, they're spending on average 2 to 3 hours on their phone. And, you know, if they're, you know, like more IG oriented, I think IG is the dominant social media platform for like people our age, of like young professionals or mid-age professionals. You know, we're not on TikTok really, we're on IG. IG is a little bit more professional. It's more, you know, less like bullshit, I guess, even though there's still a substantial amount of bullshit on IG. You want to focus on getting them to get into your network, right? To just like in the past, I cold call and I would follow up with them, and I would, you know, build rapport with them, and I would, you know, you can do that through Instagram. But if you couple it with cold calling, it just makes it that much more effective, because if you called them and they followed you on IG and they're like checking out your work, now you can send them a sample of your work on IG, and then it's super easy for you to reference that on your next follow-up call, right? Because what's a little bit more, you know, you can still do this through texting. You can be like, hey, I'm gonna send you my website. I'm gonna send you my Instagram. You know, I'm sending you my portfolio and some samples. You can still do that. That's a 7, 8 out of 10 strategy. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But I would say if you do actually take time to work on your IG and you develop it, the IG is gonna do even more work for you on the back end, because every time you post, if they actually are interested and you have good content, that's whether it's funny or it's engaging or it's actual, not your, you know, standard boilerplate like photo only, you know, post. And even then, that could be still decent. You know, I've seen some nice photo only posts. They're going to be reminded of you. And when you follow up, there's already going to be 3, 4 touch points. It goes into this concept called omnipresence. You want to be omnipresent, because when you are, you become a household brand, a household name. Where 2 years later, because we sponsored events, because we were posting on social, because other agents were sharing our stuff, I had agents that like, they're like, but you're like aerial canvas. And I'm just like, what does that mean? They're like talking about my brand like I'm Tesla. I'm just like, oh, I get what they mean now, like with that energy. Like, you're like, but you're aerial canvas. Everyone knows you, right? You're what all the top producers use you, right? And so you wanna get to that point, right? I'm sure we can identify a few household names, like local brands that everyone knows. Like there's the jingle, there's the sign. Everyone knows this one chicken shop on this street because there's a line out the, you know, down the street every you know, night of the week. You got to become that household name locally to the agents that you serve. And dude, if you can get every agent to follow you, there's so much power in that. And you can do that through the power of reciprocity, right? Imagine cold calling 2,000 agents and you say, hey, I just followed you on IG, give me a follow back. I know that's a lot of manual work, but realistically, when we pay for follower ads on IG, it costs us like $2 per follow, right? Sometimes it costs us $4 per follow. Sometimes I spend $1,000 and I get 300 follows. That's $3 per follow. Treat cold calling like a cup of coffee, where you're just buying them a coffee, aka giving them a follow. You're effectively giving them $3 of value when it comes to a follower, when it comes to like an actual local person paying attention to their content. And vice versa, when they give you a follow, they're giving you a coffee. It's worth probably $3. And so consider that, right? Like if you are to cold call, don't overcomplicate it. You don't have to go with my confused old man strategy. You can just literally be like, hey, I checked you out on IG. I just gave you a follow. You know, it'd be cool if you follow me back. I also work in real estate. And you can keep it that short and simple. Yeah, it's Nick Feist Media. I also work in real estate. I help agents with, putting their listings up on a market and getting top dollar and, winning listings against other agents. Oh, wait, how do you do that? Be the marketer that sells photos and videos. Be the strategist that just happens to sell photos and videos. Don't be the photographer, because you're selling the commodity, right? And so if you position yourself like that in a call, and you position yourself as someone that's worthy, you're giving them value. Dude, I'm calling someone, here's a cup of coffee worth of following value. I just followed you. Hey, here's a joke to make you feel good, and the joke can be just a funny statement. You ever have a friend that just says ridiculous stuff? They're like, oh my God, I just saw this crazy old lady. She was trying to just run at me. I thought she was going to kill me. She was like in zombie mode, right? When you can be that friend, have a variation of that and like enjoy your life. Because that's something I sometimes forget, to sprinkle into my interactions. I'm so focused on business. You need to have, I love the people that can break that up for me in my life, in my interactions, that bring, like Colby is a good example. I don't know if you guys have met Colby, my business partner at Aero Canvas. Dude, whenever I hit him up, he just has 2 fun stories. He's just like, dude, there was this homeless lady running around down there. And, it's just I come into fun, right? And so feel free to bring that fun in. You can have your own variation of that. It doesn't always have to be fun. It could be value-based. Hey, I saw this one video. I felt like it really resonated with what you're trying to do with your brand. Can I share that with you? Right? That's a great prime example of a follow-up when it comes to cold calling. Don't follow up for the sake of follow-up. Follow up with the sake of providing some sort of value. You saw a video that you think they should try to model. You met another agent that you recently talked to that's trying to potentially, have some of their clients, their buyers, buy a property that they're trying to sell. Doesn't have to be. And that, I know I'm going on a ramble here, but this was on a previous call. Those are things that you can lean into as a connector, because your goal, some of the best people in business, and what I've observed personally, I get so much value by just connecting people, because, dude, think about it from their perspective. Some of these people that are trying to sell their listing, they're paying for ads, they're paying for marketing, they're trying to go network, they're fucking busting their ass, hosting open houses, putting so much work in, right? And then some of these other agents are paying thousands of dollars for Zillow ads and Zillow leads and all this stuff. And the deals are literally right in front of us. And what I mean by that is, every agent that doesn't have a listing, that's not a listing agent, is probably working maybe with a buyer. Hopefully they're working with a buyer. Otherwise, they have no food on the table. They're either getting paid from buyers or sellers of listings, or they're maybe working for Redfin and getting a small salary, right? That's how agents make a living. And so every agent is trying to find an ideal home for their buyer, and every agent that's selling a listing is trying to find that ideal buyer. And so if you lean into some of these conversations a second layer deeper, you can actually be that type of connector, right? Where it doesn't have to be connecting agents with agents, because that can kind of be a nightmare to keep track of. Like, oh, this person is looking for like a $500,000 3-bed, 2-bath in this area. It's just like, you know, they have Zillow for that, honestly, right? But you can do that with other service-based businesses. Whether it's Anthony with the SEO website solution, or if it's a local plumber or a local home contractor that's really reliable, right? And when you're that plug, when you're that connector, it's so much easier to sell your service because you've provided value to them indirectly. And so oftentimes there's a question I ask agents. Hey, who can I put you in touch with? Who do you need any connections? Like I meet a lot of contractors. I talk to a lot of top producing agents. They introduce me to their network. Like, who can I put you in touch with? And half the time these agents are like, oh, I'm looking for a roofer. Like, you know, my last roofer is like booked out, right? And so you can be that plug. Any questions? I'm just giving you cold calling 101 and just some basic strategies. We can get more dynamic, but until you do this, you shouldn't like overwhelm yourself. Your goal is to just share some samples, get them to follow you on IG, build a little bit of rapport. Don't be super like, you know, stiff and call with 123 media company and have them hang up on you. It's as simple as it gets.
No questions, but when I was cold calling, when I worked for Verizon, any person that I cold called, I put into my phone as a contact, and I put the letter C in front of their name. So that way, when they would call back, I could answer that call as if they were a buddy of mine. If it came through, I wasn't like, oh, it's 509 something. Like, yeah, hey, this is Corey. Who is this? Not remembering. Instead, I could be like, hey, Brendan, how's it going?
Yeah, beautiful. I love that.
Immediately like, oh, do I know this guy? Like, he tried calling me. I don't have him in my phone. And now they're like in that mode of, I don't want to say I don't know who you are. So that was one little trick that I had when I did a bunch of cold calling.
Yeah. That energy, I love it because it's contagious. It's contagious, and people want to do business with people that are happy, that remember the name, that are like in it, you know? I definitely am guilty of like answering the call, like, hey, this is like sometimes I'm busy and I'm like, hey, this is Brendan, how can I help you? Like, you know, like and good thing, like I would never do that if I'm like behind the phone of my actual media company. I'm default like happy, ready to serve. But you know, with my personal number, there's a lot of it's my number's floating around on the internet. There's people trying to sell me stuff, people trying to, you know, sell me VAs. I'm like, I'm good, you know. I'm focused on work in front of me. So it's awesome that you do that. If you're getting into cold calling, everyone that does business with you needs to be saved immediately. All of your clients need to be saved on your phone. You know, I chewed my team out when I saw a bunch of numbers with like, I'm like, is this a client? Why aren't they saved into our like open phone in our CRM? Like, everyone needs to be saved, especially if, you know, like we've all read How to Win Friends and Influence People. Like, the name is the most important sound to a person, right? And so
They're in your contact list like that. We do that. We save everybody into our contact list. So, you know, if Carol Ann calls, like, hey, Carol Ann, how's it going? It's not, thank you for calling Kill Media. It's a whole different flow. Like, a lot of the time, they don't even think that you saved their contact. A lot of the time, like, I've done 2 projects with you, and they're like, you remember who I am? Yeah, I got you. Like, so it just set on at a different spot.
I love that. Cool. So I wanted to make this actionable, right? Like, if you've made it through this call, like, if you're not going to use it, you'll lose it. You really will. And so my challenge to you is block out an hour, make a list of 5 top producing agents you want to work with, and the goal is to get them to follow you back on IG or check out your samples if they already follow you, right? That's it. That's the 101. That's the first step. The second step, the third step, there's, you know, obviously layers to like it, and a lot of layers fall actually into the consultation strategies that we discuss on, you know, asking them, hey, are you happy with your current photographer? Like, what do you normally do for listings like this? What are you normally doing? Hey, you know, with this neighborhood, you know, do you want to be seen as the expert? Do you have any videos on YouTube that highlight you as a local neighborhood expert? and then start doing a little bit more explorative, consultative type of, questions and lean into that sales process. But the first step when it comes to cold calling is to build enough rapport to have the right framing where they're literally helping you, right? They're like, and you're not in a position of trying to, because once you position yourself as the salesperson, dude, literally like they just kick you in a well and you have to like climb out of it. And it's fine. Like I've climbed out of wells, like I said, but it takes some time and it takes some, repositioning. But you don't want to, put yourself, in a huge disadvantaged position if you can help it. And all you got to do to not do that is turn off the telephone voice, turn off the salesperson voice of trying to sell them, of trying to serve them, and then put on your inquisitive, slightly confused, curious about who they are voice, and call them as if, don't pretend you're a client, but call them as if you were just saying, hey, is this agent cool? Do I want to work with them? Have that mentality, and call them also knowing that you have no angle. You don't want to sell them anything, right? Because like, dude, if this agent is a huge bitch or an asshole, do you even want to work with them, right? And what I mean by that is like, you are in power. You are not trying to present yourself to win over. They're not like kings or queens, right? They're just average people, and you're at a party and you're just chatting them up. But the version of you going to them is like you calling their phone, which is a very normal means of interaction. And so don't overthink it. Have fun with it. Tell them silly stories. If you just went on you can tell them, anything. The reason for my call is, yo, I saw that, you got this badass listing. I was driving by it every day last week, and I was just like, who has this listing? This listing's insane. Are you is it on the market yet? Are you guys taking bids? So just have fun with it. Don't get too deep in your head like Ishmael has shown, just rip the calls. And so everyone should block out an hour of time on your calendar, make a list of the top 5 agents that you want to get in business with, and follow through with that simple action of introduce yourself.
Brendan,
build some reciprocity.
We had just started to make calls to try to set up brokerage workshops / presentations. And we're doing that through our existing clients and getting in touch with someone from the brokerage who, can make that decision. I think that leveraging the existing relationships is potentially going to be a better use of time, to start with.
Oh, 100%.
Want the cold calls, or is cold calls?
100%. I mean, that's what we covered at the beginning of this call. If you're not doing referrals and brokerage intros on your existing network yet, you shouldn't be leaning into something like this. This is great for 2 reasons, especially if you're in a larger city. You can tap into an entire new network, right? If I work with Compass and Coldwell Banker, their agents usually talk to each other. But sometimes the Keller Williams agents are kind of in their own nexus. And so you have to realize that sometimes you're never going to get referred to a competing broker's agents by, if you work with Compass agents, they're not going to refer you to they're not going to have 50 buddies at Keller Williams, likely, right? They're going to be homies with all the other Compass agents, and, they're kind of on a sports team, and they're like, yeah, those Keller Williams agents are the McDonald's of real estate. We're the legit ones, So that's something you have to keep in mind, and that's why I like cold calling, because it allowed me to put myself in new territories, new little nexuses of little webs of connections. And so if you're looking for rapid growth and expansion, I would say cold calling allows you to do that faster than referrals. Referrals, don't get me wrong, within a city, everyone's 2-3 degrees of separation apart. So you can meet everyone through a referral over time. But if you want to skip like 2 degrees of separation, that's when I would cold call. And if there's like a brokerage that you don't work with, like cold call their top producing agents, cold call, a couple, up and coming agents, and find your way into that entire brokerage that's new. But if you have like existing opportunities, focus on those first.
Okay, thanks, man.
And then also, like don't make it their idea, right? And when I say that, it's just like, don't ask for permission to come in to do this. Like, make it their idea from even the agent referring you to the brokerage, right? Find a way to have the agents want what you have to present. It's like, hey, I'm this quarter we're doing, branding set. Like, what is it that you're going to present on? I'm just curious. Is there a specific topic?
Yeah. So the title, it's a workshop, and it's called Win More Listings by Doing What You're Already Doing. And it's about if you can create social media content about what you're doing to bring a listing to market, and that's why sellers will choose you. And so like actionable steps. And then part of it is going to be have good media, and that'll be a natural sales pitch for our services. It's a presentation, but also, to try to give people.
Here's my strategy for you that might accelerate this a little bit faster. And here's the 3 steps. The first step is to create an event on your own that's agnostic of the brokerage, and just say, hey, I'm doing this for our current clients. Come in for this free workshop. We're going to do this, this, and this, and we're going to help you with this, this, and this. And you already have bought in. And if it's an actual good workshop, which I'm assuming it is because you're John Reed, then it's going to be so much easier to go in for the ask with the agent. Be like, hey, did you like this? Hey, what if we did this for your entire brokerage and it was your idea that you brought it in and you look good to your broker? Oh, hell yeah. Hey, Mr. Broker, I just talked to John Reed and he's my homie, and he's going to do this favor for us. And, we're going to be able to, have him come in and teach us how to create social media more effortlessly, right? Make it their idea versus something that you have to sell them on why they should do it. And so it starts with proving yourself organically by just doing it for your current clients. And then once those clients have had a good experience, they're going to be a silver bullet to the broker, for the broker to say yes. All right.
I love that idea. And also, we actually have an online shop. The only one that we've actually got booked and confirmed is with the local real estate board. And so we're hoping that the vast majority of people on that workshop will not be our clients. And I was not intending on this, but I think you just made me think. At the end of that workshop, I'm going to say, which of you think that this would be valuable to do at your brokerage? And if so, can you make an introduction?
Beautiful. Yeah, also Bronson's released his strategy, both our Cancun Mastermind and also on one of these virtual ones. Like, tap into the lenders and the mortgage brokers that already want, agents as their clients as well, and, have them promote for you. So you don't have to do it, manually with your team.
Awesome.
And then you should consider even, doing second layer of that, where you have the event that's free, where you're going to do your hour workshop, and afterwards you're going to film content for people that want to pay for it, and then you get paid to actually do the event.
Yeah, we actually took Bronson's strategy and shoehorned it in at the end of 2025. We didn't make a ton of money. We made about $2,000 and connected with a couple of new agents. So
you got paid $2,000 to connect with agents. That's pretty great.
Yeah.
Love it. Awesome. All right, so everyone's gonna do this, or you just wasting an hour of your own time?
I'm gonna do it, and this is really being a motivator, something that I've always just kind of felt, nah, that really me.
Yeah. Well, don't overthink it. You're just introducing yourself like as you would at a party, and you did great in Cancun. Everyone met you, John, and you just introduced yourself. And be confused. Am I in the right room? Am I calling? Is this John? Everyone wants to help a confused old man. Unless they're assholes, which they did you the service of excusing themselves from your client list because they're rude to fucking people that just are looking for help, right? Which is very seldom. I've met a couple, but most agents are pretty nice as well.
I think most people want to help people. people.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Thanks, gentlemen. Take care. Corey, you're going to do this? 5 agents that you want to work with. Just get them to add you back on IG or check out your samples.
Yeah, I'll need to go into like Zillow or something and hunt down some people. I actually have a big meeting with big realtors. He had opened up his own brokerage. Deal kind of started taking off for a while, but he's got, I think, 6 agents with him. And he alone does 20 listings in the last 12 months. So,
And also go in with no expectations. Just go in there to be their friend, you know, be their backup friend. You know, they might already have a photographer they're really happy with. Just be there, introduce yourself, have them add you on IG, and at some point they're gonna be like, yo, Kill Media is doing videos I've never seen my photographer do. We need to call him for this next listing.
here's what happened. So his brother is a real estate agent, and he joined the networking group that I go to every single Thursday morning. And finally, after 6 or 7 months, hired me to do a job because their photographer was out of town, and we killed it. Like, we rocked it for him. And so when he got the images back, the next time he saw me, he was like, dude, you guys are on it. Like, the communications was amazing. Like, you delivered quickly. They looked way better than the other photographer, and just like was going off. And so I then got invited to do an event for them for Santa Claus, like Santa photos. So I went and did Santa photos there. And then at the end of that event, I was like, hey, we should sit down and chat some different things. I would love to see what you guys are doing and how we could potentially help you out. And he's like, yeah, sure. Shoot me an email like next week. We'll figure something out. Well, no response from that email. So the new year kicks around, and I just sent off a new email, rewrote it a little bit, just saying, kicking off 2026, what's your goals? Like, and he's like, let's set this up next week, Wednesday. So booked it up, and now it's time to sit down and talk with them.
Yeah. The sale isn't a follow-up. Like most agents, like they're not trying to, you know, if you built some level of rapport and like they want you in their network and they see you as, you know, someone that's not, you know, not annoying or not, you know, someone who's just trying to like claw at their business, but someone who is a valuable person that respects themselves, that has a respectable business, they're going to want to do business with you at some point. If they have someone they're working with, sure, that might be until that person is no longer reliable, and that's fine. But once again, like that agent, all you have to do is put yourself in their field of view. It's kind of like a party, right? You know, there's all these people at a party that I want to hang out with, but I only see like the people that are 10 feet away. And so it's the same concept of like, you just need to place yourself in front of the line. It's not that they're trying to like, they don't want to, or not in front of the line, but like in their field of view. You know, it's
I'll play that game of business for sure, where I'm at a networking event and I'll shift myself so I can get direct line of contact with them.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. All right, we'll talk. Take care, gentlemen. So if you like this video and you got value, it's time to take action, but it still might feel quite uncomfortable to cold call. So we got something even better for you. If you liked this type of training and you want some hands-on knowledge that's industry specific to real estate media and working with more top producing real estate agents, we actually have the Revenue Accelerator. It's a 3-day challenge that you can sign up for, and it allows you to tap into your existing network. It's gonna allow you to increase your average order value by consulting at a higher level. It's gonna help you get more referrals like clockwork, and it's gonna help you land some big brokerage partnerships that might add $10, $20, $50,000 of business to your real estate media company this year. If you're interested in getting signed up, check out the link in the description. We're doing a special on it. We can't wait to see you on the other side and help you make more money this year.